I am truly sorry that Pistol and Boo were not declared. Protecting Australia is important.
Declare everything when you enter Australia.
Actress Amber Heard, best known for starring in director James Wan's Aquaman 2018 and the upcoming sequel Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom 2022, is being probed by Australian officials with the support of the FBI as they track down witnesses in the United States of America. FBI probes and tracks down Amber Heard. Back in 2015, Heard faced controversy when she brought her two dogs, Yorkshire Terriers Pistol and Boo, into Australia without submitting the required paperwork for the correct entry into the country, blaming her misstep on the lack of sleep and then issuing an apology. Heard avoided any biosecurity charges and prison time she could have faced. The legal battle between former Hollywood couple Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, who met on the set of The Rum Diary 2011, will not see any form of closure until next year, when the defamation lawsuit has its day in court, amid a court case controversies which saw Heard repeatedly appealing for the suit to be thrown out. The actress is now being investigated in an FBI-backed probe over the potential perjury for a 2015 incident. However, as the report states, Australian officials have now reopened the inquiry after claims made at her ex-husband's actor Johnny Depp's libel lawsuit against the British tabloid The Sun, news group newspapers and editor Dan Wooden last year after being called a wife-beater. Amber Heard is being investigated for perjury in an FBI-backed probe into claims she lied to Australian officials after smuggling her dogs into the country in 2015. DailyMail.com can exclusively reveal. The 35-year-old actress avoided biosecurity charges after she publicly apologized and blamed the lack of sleep for jetting into the country without the required paperwork for Yorkshire Terriers Pistol and Boo. But Aussie authorities are revisiting the smuggling spat as a perjury investigation after fresh details dredged up at last year's UK libel trial between Heard's ex Johnny Depp and the Sun newspaper called her explanation into question. Depp's former state manager, Kevin Murphy, raised eyebrows down under when he told the London court that Heard had ordered him to lie on oath after she flew the pets into Queensland in a private jet without declaring them. DailyMail.com can reveal that the Department of Agriculture, Water and Environment responded by quietly reopening a criminal probe and enlisting the help of the FBI to track down witnesses in the U.S. Heard was originally facing 2 charges of illegal importation of an animal and a possible 10-year prison sentence after she flew the 2 pooches into Australia in April 2015 to meet Depp, who was filming Pirates of the Caribbean. Pistol and Boo should have been declared to customs and placed in a 10-day quarantine, but their arrival went undetected for several weeks until a grooming salon posted snaps of the cuddly pair to Facebook. The spat was dubbed the War on Terrier by Australian media, and Depp and Heard were given 72 hours to send them home or face having the dogs seized and euthanized. Heard eventually pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of falsifying an immigration document and accepted a fine of 10,000 Australian dollars or $7,650 US after her lawyer Jeremy Kirk insisted the paperwork had slipped through the cracks and that there was no attempt to deceive. Kirk said Heard thought that her then-husband's staff had completed the paperwork and was exhausted and suffering from sleep deprivation when she ticked the wrong box on her arrival card. Australia is free of many pests and diseases that are commonplace around the world. That is why Australia has to have such strong biosecurity laws, Heard said in a groveling video apology to the court, recorded jointly with Depp. I'm truly sorry that Pistol and Boo were not declared. Protecting Australia is important. One of those, Murphy, has now been interviewed at length by Australian investigators and has provided a lengthy witness statement and a trove of emails allegedly implicating Heard. Sources close to the investigation believe she could be weeks away from being hit with charges of perjury or subordination of perjury, which involves inducing someone to provide false testimony. Perjury carries a maximum jail term of 14 years, while the latter offense can result in a 7-year stretch under the Queensland Penal Code. It's unlikely the Australian government would try to have Heard extradited, but she could nonetheless face arrest if she tried to enter the country again. She could just ignore the whole thing and never go back, but a huge number of movies are shot in Australia, including Aquaman, the movie for which she is most well-known, dished an insider. Heard's version of events were unchallenged until July last year when Murphy told London's High Court in a written statement that he had repeatedly warned the actress about Australia's strict animal entry rules. I also explained to Ms. Heard several times the fact that trying to take the dogs into Australia without completing the mandatory process was illegal and could result in very harsh penalties, including euthanizing the dogs, said Murphy, 59. He went on to allege that when the smuggling controversy erupted, Heard demanded he provide a false statement to the Australian court saying she didn't know anything about the requirements. When I expressed that I was extremely uncomfortable with this, Ms. Heard said to me, "Well, I want your help on this. I wouldn't want you to have a problem with your job." It became very apparent that Ms. Heard was threatening my job stability unless I cooperated with providing a declaration that supported her false account for the Australian proceedings. Because of this, I felt extreme pressure to cooperate despite knowing this would involve being untruthful, added Murphy, who worked for Depp for 8 years. The declaration was subsequently prepared for Heard by an attorney and contained statements that were not entirely truthful, the statement went on. Murphy said that when Depp and Heard split in May 2016, he sought legal advice on attempting to voluntarily retract his statement about Pistol and Boo, but he abandoned it because of the cost. The son's lawyer pushed back against his account during cross-examination, accusing him of lying and attempting to discredit Heard, who appeared as a key witness for the UK-based tabloid. Amber Heard is being probed for lying in an FBI-backed investigation into allegations that she lied to Australian authorities after smuggling her dogs into the country in 2015. As per Daily Mail, the 35-year-old actress dodged biosecurity charges after publicly apologizing and blaming a lack of sleep for bringing her Yorkshire Terriers Pistol and Boo into the nation without the necessary documentation. However, the spokesperson added in their statement that the department is seeking to obtain witness statements, and once obtained, the Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions will consider whether the evidence is sufficient to warrant pursuance of the matter. And news come nearly a year after one of Johnny Depp's associates testified in actor's 2020 libel suit against a British tabloid that Heard asked him to lie under oath after the Aquaman actress was charged with illegally importing the dogs into Australia after flying with them on a private jet without obtaining a permit and failing to have the pets spend 2 weeks in quarantine.